everyone. Welcome to Laurie's Little Studio. I'm Laurie and today I have this in front of me. We're going to be making this Butterick 4721. It's View B jumper and this one has a button front and this one has a zipper back. So we're going to be doing a zipper back out of this fabric right here. This is fabric that Candace picked. This is what she wanted. So I purchased zippers. I only needed one, but you could only buy these in a 2-pack. I know that I need interfacing. If you guys know me, if it's fusible interfacing, I'll just fuse what I have, pieces, parts, little dribs and drabs, and put those on the pieces that require it. And in this case, that happens to be piece number 7 here and piece number 8. These two will be interfaced. And for the jumper, we just simply have 2 pieces, piece 5 and piece 6. So I've already cut these out. I'm going to give these pieces a press. There is a dart on the front, piece 5, as you can see right here. I've already pre-washed this fabric and I want to kind of give it a good looking over. So on this particular pattern instruction sheet, this is your pattern key right here. This blank is the right side of the pattern. So that would be the side that you can read correctly. So this is the right side of piece 8. The dotted right here, that is if they ask you to flip the pattern piece over, and it would be backwards for you. Jumper B, 45-inch wide fabric. So see this little symbol right here? It explains it right here. This is the layout that I will be using. So this is my layout for this particular pattern. Okay, I have cut this piece face up, piece number 5, once, and now I'm going to flip it over so that I will have an opposing side and I don't have to flip my fabric over. It's pretty easy with a print because you can kind of see through the print. And I'm going to make sure that this will line up with the flowers on this before I put my pattern piece down and cut it out. Because this is a large print fabric, I'm having to match just almost like you do with plaid, but on this particular fabric I'm not drawing lines at the underarm and I'm not drawing lines at every notch. What I did is I folded my seam allowance on, this is the back piece. I folded my seam allowance and then I matched where that is to the best of my ability, because down in that corner, the bottom hem is off by a fraction of an inch, but this is the only piece of fabric that this back seam could meet on. I'm going to go ahead and remove these pins that I've got the seam allowance pinned down on with, and then I will cut this piece out. And you can always use a solid fabric if you're worried about the facings, which I am a little. I'm not sure that that's going to match, and I don't know that it matters. I don't think the facings are going to show that much, if at all, so I'm not too concerned about it. I am going to make a B with my heat erase pen. I know that I can tell the difference between the two because the front piece has a very large underarm cut, and that's where we're going to make our dart. But the back does not have that. Just to kind of keep myself on track, that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so I'm going to cut this out and then we'll cut out the front piece and then the facings. Okay, and if I didn't say it before, you want to match on the center front and the center back seam. I'm not going to worry about this armhole right here or the side seam. Now, one thing you have to watch out for is this particular piece of fabric. It's a Waverly fabric. It's a screen print, and there is a diagonal. These dark blue bits are going at a diagonal. So I have to watch that. When you're stitching with a diagonal, often your patterns will tell you not suitable for diagonal fabric. So in this case, I'm just going to make it work. Piece 7, they both say cut 2, and piece 8 is cut face down. And you know you've got your grain lines, so make sure you're looking at those. Now I need to take the little bit of interfacing that I have, some of this, it's all fusible interfacing. I'll need 2 pieces for piece number 7 and 2 pieces . And for view B, this is all of the interfacing that we will need. So I will gather it all up and put it back in my pile. I think I'm gonna have to go ahead and get some. And now is a good time, you know, it's December 2nd of 2024. And there are still some really good Black Friday, Cyber Monday deals going on, even though it's not really still Black Friday or Cyber Monday. Anyway, it's getting dark. I need to go feed the chickens, and when I pick back up tomorrow, we will be applying the interfacing and marking the darts on piece number 5, the front. Okay, it's the next day, and I've gotten the interfacing attached to both of these facings, as you can see. So I just want to say, if you're not familiar with fusible interfacing, the way that I do this, and there's probably better ways or different ways, but I've got my pattern piece and I don't cut it the same size. I cut it just slightly smaller than the fabric piece. I just don't want this piece of facing attached to this piece of facing, and already that's 4 layers, and then have it be on the inside of the jumper and be a big bulky bump in there. But anyway, I press this down with my iron. I don't do this. I don't do this because the interfacing can bunch up under your iron and it can wrinkle this side. So I press and then I flip it over. I iron it down on the right side of the fabric. That way I know that this piece of interfacing isn't going to get wrinkled and bunched up under the iron. So all 4 pieces have been done. This is piece 7, this is piece 8. So let's see what we're going to do after we've taken care of that. Okay, so now we need to mark and stitch the darts. And it looks like we're going to cut them open so that they will also lay flat. Okay, so it's piece number 5, and this is both pieces. I've got them pinned together. Not because you have to, but just because when I was cutting them out, I had them pinned together. And for stability, I'm just going to pin this pattern piece in just a couple of places. I'm not too picky about that. Okay, now I'm going to find which 3 of these is the size that I'm using. And I know that I was cutting out on the dash dot line. So let's see if I can find dash dot dash on these 3 because their sizes are not marked. I believe it is the second one. Yes, it is the second set of lines drawn. So I've got that line drawn. And you could use a tracing wheel, piece of chalk. You could make measurements like how many inches this is off the side. Just whatever type of mathing you want to do. And there you go. You've got this one marked and this one marked. All right, I'm going to remove all the pins and I'll be right back. Just lined up with my notches right here. And I'm just going to put a pin through the line I drew. So I've got the silver part of the pin showing right there, and I can mark the other side of the pattern. And the same thing for the bottom of the zipper right here. Okay, so the main objective here is to line this line up with this line. And the best way that I know to do that is to pop a pin through the line, just right on that line, and then find the other line. And then your adjustments to get this line to match up with the one on the back will be very minute. And of course the point of a dart is to create a curve in your garment. When we stitch this, it will add just a slight curve. This particular jumper does not have a huge curve. I don't know if you can see that in the front, but there's a slight body curve for the bust area. I will get the other one pinned and ready to stitch, and then I'll put George up here and we'll take care of the stitching. Alright, let's get these stitched. I'm going to use white thread. I'm going to use 2.0 straight stitch, needle down, literally ran out of bobbin thread just as I finished. Isn't that the way it always is? We are going to stitch the fronts together at the center seam. And because this is the center front, I am going to reinforce. Two fronts have been stitched together, and that seam needs to be pressed. Sometimes I have to go back and mark my pattern, my fabric. This is not the end of the zipper, which is what I thought it was indicating. This is a large circle, so we are supposed to mark that. Okay. And now we are supposed to stitch from here to the hem, or from the hem to here. But I'm going to fold this pattern piece back up. Can anyone guess why we're going to stitch from there to the hem? It's because from here to here is the zipper. So we need to get this ready. I'm going to go press the back seam and the front seam, and I'll be right back. We are going to baste the open edges together, and I am going to go ahead and do that. Even though I don't normally baste, I don't consider this a waste of thread. So we will take up our seam allowance. And a basting stitch is, you can either do it by hand or you can do it on your sewing machine. It's a large stitch. We have stitched the basting stitch to hold the back seam closed. And then we've got our zipper here that we're going to open, and then making sure it's not twisted around. You want the zipper pull facing down. We're going to pin both sides of the zipper, or however you prefer to do it. And then when you get up here to the top, I recommend that you try to keep your sewing machine needle away from this foot. So my plan is to stop sewing right there, and then I'm going to open those basting stitches, and once I get that open, I will finish stitching the zipper all the way up to the top, where I've just left that little, about an inch there. The next thing we're going to do is stitch the front facing piece number 7. That looks kind of funny. So we have them right sides together, and we're going to stitch from here to this red dot right there. I think I'll stitch it again just for reinforcement. All right, so we've got those stitched together. And that is going to be the V in the front of our dress. This is the facing for that. Front facings, 2 back facings at the sides. So front and back, and these are the arm sections here. So here's our zipper. In the center back of our dress. I do need to finish the bottom edge of the facing. We're to finish this lower edge however we want to do that. You can serge it, you can hem it, you can do a zigzag stitch over it. I might serge this. I need to press these seams down. Alrighty, it's getting to be time to feed the chickens, so I will see you tomorrow. I had to take the dead cat cover off my mic because it was hanging down too low for me to use my serger. Okay, today we are going to go ahead and finish the bottom edge of the facing. I need to press this first. I want to press these seams open like so. Alrighty, I'm going to check the back facings. Alright, it looks like that's going to work. So now I'm going to press these seams open. I'm going to go all the way around the bottom edge, but I am going to put my knife down. Now I'm going to put my serger away. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is pin the facing right sides together to the jumper. The first thing you do is unzip the zipper. You don't have to unzip it all the way, but just about to there to give you some room, because clearly we're going to be tucking these ends on the back under, and we want to clear the zipper. And you want your side seams on your facing and the side seams on the jumper to match up. And I would say it's more important for the side seams to match than the notches to match. They should. The notches and the side seams should match. But in the end, the side seams need to match. Okay, so we've come all the way around to the back, and here's the zipper. You don't want your zipper catching. This will be on the inside when it's all said and done. So I'm probably going to just zigzag over this edge pretty tight, and then I'm going to fold it back. You don't want this in the way, so kind of make sure that it won't be in the way. Now let's say that you got to the side seam on either side, both sides, and it didn't match. So if this facing side seam was way over here, that would mean that your seam allowances were off, and you could just simply take it up. Undo these stitches right here and then take up a bigger side seam. But let's say you got to your side seam and it was over here, then this side seam is either too large or this side seam, so you could adjust this side seam to be smaller. And this side seam you could let out to make it longer to match up. So all is not lost if that happens. Make sure that you clear out any weird settings on your sewing machine. You want to put it back in straight stitch. You want it on about a 2, 2.5, whatever you're most comfortable with. Needle down, you got the right foot. Just kind of give it a glance and see if everything is where you want it to be. This might be a little strange to some, but we stitch here, all right. Then we stop at the top of the straps. So I've got my needle down. I'm just going to go ahead and bring my needle up and bring this out. Oh, I'm so glad I remembered that. Okay, so now I need to mark this. You're going to leave across this edge right here open. Let me just get this opened out for you. So you've got these small circles here, and you want to make sure that you do not stitch from this point right here across here and down here. You want to leave this open. And on the front facing, this dot right here, you want to leave this open to here. So from here, we're going to leave this open, and then we can start stitching again. Before we do any turning or flipping or any of that, we have a lot of curves to clip and corners to chop and all that stuff we have to do. And then this V-neck also must be clipped properly before it will flip out to the other side correctly. We also have to understitch. And understitching is important because it will keep the facing from wanting to just flip to the other side. We need it to stay on the inside. Remember, I've told you if you're understitching, it truly is just a matter of getting it under the sewing machine needle and stitching it so that it's comfortable for you but properly done. So we're going to stitch this seam here to the facing. You don't want to stitch it to the garment because it'll show on the garment side, but you want to stitch this to the facing side, and that will help it flip correctly to the inside. Now when I get to the V, I'm just going to cut straight down toward the V itself and then cut a couple of little clips on either side. And I cut the huge notches off that I originally cut when I cut the pattern out. And now I'm heading over here to the other armhole edge. And this little curve right here we also want to do. And make sure your iron is hot because you're going to need to press. So here we have a curve right here, and it opens up when we straighten it out. And that is the movement that allows these curves to turn out pretty. Everything has been clipped. Now the next step in this whole process is to understitch. The way you understitch is put this under the sewing machine needle. So we put this under the sewing machine needle. I can't really do it one-handed, but it would be like this. And we're going to stitch right here on the facing side, not on the fabric side, but we're going to stitch this where we've stitched the two together, laying flat. And there's going to be spots that we will not be able to do, but you just stop stitching and then get another spot where you can stitch it and start stitching until you can't stitch anymore. Okay, so this is one area where I have to stop stitching, but I can show you what I'm talking about with the stitching not showing on the fabric on the outside. So this is the seam right here that I just did, and when I fold this to the inside, it will stay to the inside with the stitching on the inside. But I couldn't go all the way up the shoulder, so I only got from the zipper to here, and then I had to stop. Now you're going to flip your facing to the inside, but you still have the shoulders to contend with. So what they tell you to do, turn facing to the inside, turning in the ends to clear the zipper teeth. So that would be on the back facing. Press, and then you're going to slip stitch to the zipper tape. So on the back sections back here, we will flip this to the inside, and we're going to slip stitch this section of the facing so that it's just clearing the zipper teeth on both sides. Then you're going to open out the facing at the shoulders, and you're going to pin front and back together at the shoulders. So we're going to open out a back shoulder strap, and you see how you've got this side opening here, and then the corresponding front and the facing side of the back. So I've pinned it instead of stitching it just to show you. So this is the facing side and this is the garment side. When you get it pinned all the way across, you just pull this so that those go to the inside. They're not pretty because they haven't been stitched. And you're going to slip stitch this little section that got left open, and then your seam, which obviously this will look so much better once it's been pressed, but that is your armhole, and this is the front, and this is the back. Actually, there are three things you're going to do before you do the shoulders, and that is we're going to turn this in and press the back on the zipper. You need to line it up and get it nice and straight, and we'll slip stitch these back here down so they're nice and pretty. And we're going to press all this, press all these seams so that they're sitting right on that edge. You don't want one, you know, on the front like that, and one rolled way over on the back side. It should be perfectly straight along that seam right there. And it could take a few minutes. Then when we come back, we need to tack the facing down at the sides. I like to just do a stitch in the ditch. It's right along the outer side seam to hold the facing down on the inside. So press, stitch zipper sides down, get this pressed down and stitch in the ditch, and then we'll get all the stuff for the shoulders done. Alright, I'm back. This is the next day, and I've pressed the facings to the inside on the jumper. This is the front, and this is the side seam right here that I'm going to stitch down about that far to hold the facing in place. And there it is. I don't think you can, well, you can't see it, but it's there, and it will hold the facings down. I'm going to do the other side. And this is my hand cream, because my hands in December of 2024 are so dry. Oh, but I almost always use J.R. Watkins in any scent. I just happen to like roses, and this one is a lovely rose scent, and I am not sponsored by, nor am I affiliated with J.R. Watkins or anything having to do with this product. Okay, so I'm going to look for a fairly large eye, because I know I'm going to be going through a zipper tape. I'm going to use 2 strands of thread because, like I said, we're going through a zipper tape. Okay, now I still have this much to do, but I'm going to lock this stitch right here. So I've stitched down to there, and then I did an extra stitch, so it's locked in place. And then I'm going to keep going. Alright, the shoulders have been pressed. They've not been stitched. But I want to find a color of thread that better matches the colors in the fabric than white. And I've got some choices here. This is kind of a light blue. I'm going to hide my knot inside. I'm going to stitch back to the fold, and then I'm just going to go back and forth with little tiny stitches. We have done the shoulders, we've done the zipper, we've done the facings. The only thing left is the hem, and because it's a slight flare, it might, when you turn it up, you may have some bubbles on the inside as you go around. I'm going to serge the bottom edge and then just turn it up and stitch that down. So, and because it's almost two, and because I want this to hang on a coat hanger, and then tomorrow we will hem it and we'll be done. I let the dress hang all night last night and all day today, and I've got just a little bit right here. So this is like a lace edge across the bottom of your dress or jumper. You can fold this up and you don't have to finish this edge with a hem. So Candace decided, based on her height and the way this dress is made, that she wanted a 1-inch hem, which I think is appropriate. Alright, so there's the hem. There's part of the seam right there. And our jumper is complete. So if I decide that I want to do this one, I think I want to do it in blue, and it's either going to be in corduroy or velveteen. I'm kind of thinking that shade of blue, or you could do anything. You could do a lavender, purple, red. Obviously that would be more of a Christmas. Green would be more of a Christmas. Anyway, we'll see what happens the next time. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!